Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. This is kind of awkward. I may or may not have made an oopsie. It was bound to happen sometime. I made an episode, a beautiful episode on forgiveness / unforgiveness, and that's not what you're watching today. Because I accidentally, deleted it on accidentally. So instead, I kind of wanted to take a more relaxed approach. I have no idea how long this episode might be. I have no idea how short it might be. I've been trying to recover the file for a while now, and it's just not happening. It ain't gonna make the cut. As you can see today, this is not my Bible. Chill out. This is a book called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. This is by Rick Rubin. Not religious at all. But if there's one thing about Christians, dadgummit, we can make anything relate to the Bible. Because everything, in one way or another, is related to the Lord. Like, even if it's evil, you can find deliverance from it through the Lord. You get what I'm going for. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and it's a thick book. I mean, it's a thick book. I'm only like 130 pages in. I'm gonna be so vulnerable with you guys right now. I can read. I'm not gonna say that I can't read. I'm not illiterate, but dadgum, if I just will not sit down and read a book. I've read a handful of books in my life. Handful. In elementary, middle, and high school, I think I may have read a combined 4 books. Not counting ones that we had to read like in class, like read throughout, like popcorn read. You know what I mean? And even then, I'm not really reading. And the only reason I am is out of fear because I don't want to be called and be the idiot that doesn't know what's going on. I have books. I have a lot of books. I own several books, and I've read a quarter of each of them, to be honest with you. I always get really hyperfixated on a book and then ditch it. Like, there was a book I was reading. A lot of times, honestly, I hit something in the book that I wrestle with for a little while. Most of the books I read are like theology or just biblical or Christianity based books. And so a lot of times I'll hit something in the book that I'm like that I want to wrestle with for a little while, just think about. And that'll cause me to put it down for a couple days. And then here I am with a quarter of the book read. Like, I haven't touched this book in, well, that's not true. I read through it. I read some more of it not too long ago, actually. Like a day or two ago, like 3 days ago, 2 days ago. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's a really good book. It's a really good book. Rick Rubin is extremely insightful, but that's not the point of this. I did have something in here. I write up in my books. Like, I don't really do like the whole like notes on the side. Sometimes I will, but for the most part, I just underline stuff, which is really fun because if we're being honest, that doesn't really do much. It doesn't do much because what I do is I'll go back in some of my books. I'll do this in the Bible all the time where I'll underline something. I'll go back and I'll be like, I have no idea why I underlined that, but that's cool. And then there's sometimes where I go back and I see what I underline. I go, wow, I know exactly what I was feeling when I underline that. And so that's always a fun little game that I like to play with myself. But today is very early on in the book. There's a I almost lost my page. Very early on in the book, what did I just do? I'm so sorry, guys. I went back through some of the underlined stuff that I was looking at earlier. And I just saw something. And what's been really nice about this is that there is a lot of stuff that I believe spiritually help us that are in here. Rick Rubin is one of those guys who, like, he's very big into like manifestation. He's big into like being one with the universe. He's big, all that. And as much as I'm not really for that, I will be honest and say a lot of the practices inside of that do kind of collide with Christianity and some of the practices that we believe are amazing. So like one of the things is a practice of paying attention, refining our sensitivity to tune into the more subtle notes, looking for what draws us in and what pushes us away, noticing what feeling tones arise and where they lead. That's not what we're talking about today, but that's just something that I just noticed I had underlined. The first sentence I've underlined. What I want to talk about today is something that I biblically I feel very strongly about, but it's something that I'm trying to work through, because if I'm being honest, I'm a little ignorant on a lot of it, but also I'm more ignorant in how I really feel about it. Like I don't feel like I've really talked through it a whole lot, and so I felt like just being really vulnerable with this one, and I think I'll call this one like. Maybe I'll call this episode like secrecy or something. That's kind of dumb. Secrecy is kind of dumb. I don't know. Whatever. You'll get what I'm trying to say in a second. So let me read the sentence that made me kind of think of like the practices that we kind of go through, how it aligns. In this chapter, this is literally the first chapter called "Everyone is a Creator." Now, all of this book is talking about art. It's talking about music. It's talking about paintings. It's talking about movies. Whatever you can, everything is art. The whole point of the book is that everything is art. That's the point. Everyone is a creator. So this sentence in particular is, what you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in glass for it to be a work of art. Through the ordinary state of being, we're already creators in the most profound way, creating our experience of reality and composing the world we perceive. What I want to specifically focus on is what you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in glass for it to be a work of art. And I'm sure that we're both kind of right here. If we're not, so what? My initial thought when I first read this, and I know why I underlined this, was not everything I have to do has to be put on Instagram or put on Twitter or put in this, or I don't have to text somebody. I don't, And in the same vein, I don't need to. Man, this is the part that I'm wrestling with right now. I need a way to like keep this book open, so I'm just gonna. Sorry guys, I'm gonna hold my phone right there. In the same way, when it talks about like what you make doesn't have to be seen or encased in glass for it to be art, I think about like giving offerings to God. And when I say offerings, I mean, or not even necessarily offerings, just giving our time to God. Like it doesn't, it's good to pray alone. It talks about, don't, like the Bible mentions, like, don't be like the Pharisees who go and, when they fast, they go and make a big deal out of it, and they show their faces in mourning, and they're all scrunched up, and, it's obvious that they're fasting. Like they want you to know, and they want you to have this complex and stuff. But I feel that way about so many aspects, and I think where I struggle the most right now in my walk is that, there's so many things I struggle with so actively, emotionally, physically, spiritually, in every way. I struggle, and stuff that I'm actively working towards and praying towards, and some stuff that, if I'm being honest, I have this weird conception that that it's not a big deal. Which is not spiritual. That's not scriptural. And we'll get into that later. I could make hundreds of episodes of the things that I actively do wrong that I don't even know that I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I am sure over time I'll look back at some of these and go, I don't even know if I think that's right, but I think there's so much more to it now. And me and Zach have talked so extensively about the fact of like. We were in reference talking about making a book, which I'm not looking to make a book, but about like, you shouldn't make a book until you're a certain age, like 30 something, like 32, 36, 35, whatever, because being 20, like 18 to 35 is so formative, but specifically 18 to like 29, 26 to 29, like that you are becoming who you will be, and you're always evolving, you're always changing, but there's so many things about us now that won't be, in days, let alone weeks or months or years. In days, there will be things about us that we're like, I tried it, I didn't like it. I struggle praying for other people out loud because, one, insecurity. I don't want to be made fun of. Me and literally anybody else who's ever lived. Two, I struggle with how other people do it. Because I'm going to be so honest right now, dude. I don't get it. I don't get, why do we dress up the Bible? Why do we dress up how we pray? It's like when you had company coming over, right? And your mom's like, clean your room. And we all had that same response. It's like, are we eating in here? Are we eating dinner in here? Does it matter? And I'm going to be honest with you. You could definitely argue it just matters for the appearance. Hey, buddy. Hey, bucko. We're not perfect. My response was always like, oh yeah, I don't want people to know that we live here. Yeah, I don't want this house to look like someone actually lives here. I want it to be like spotless, like someone, like it's just a model home. And I get the idea. I clean now when people are coming over. But I also just clean to clean because that's how I live in here. Whatever. I'm getting so off topic. I don't like praying for people out loud because, like I said, one, insecurity, but two, it's difficult for me when I feel as though I don't pray like most of now, not all. I may be unique, but I ain't that unique. I don't pray like most of the people I know and hear out loud. I'll just be honest, my prayers aren't very formal. They're very conversational. They fit who I am. They make sense for who I am, is what I'm getting at. Like when I pray, I'm going to be honest, a lot of my prayers with, hey God, a lot of my prayers begin with, hey God, what's going on? Or like, hey man, I'll call God man. Hey man, just real quick, I'm going to be honest, I'm not cool with how things are kind of moving. I want to know how I can change it up. I want to know where I'm falling behind here. It's the same way that I've talked before about bring your negative energy to God. Bring who you are to God. Who are we trying to fool? Who are we trying to fool right now? Be so for real. Who are we trying to fool right now? When you go to God and you go like, Father, praise your name. All great things. All great things. You know what's crazy though? You're dressing up something. You're playing make-believe over here. You know what I'm saying? You're playing make-believe. And so what's hard is when I see stuff like that, it makes me go a little like, ugh. It doesn't affect me how other people pray. Like, it doesn't physically affect me. So why do I feel that way? Because it doesn't feel genuine. And I'm not here to shame anybody else's prayer life. I know a lot of people who do pray extremely formally, but that matches who they are. That 100% matches who they are. I also know a lot of people who pray kind of like me, a little bit more informally, a lot more casual, and it matches who they are. I also know there are people who in public pray formally. And here's what I don't get. Let me rephrase this. Here's what I don't agree with. Why do we dress up things for church that aren't us? I'm all for respect. All for it. But at the same time, at what point are we caring way too much about the perception? If you went to a church and first off, we need to get rid of the announcements person anyway. What a weird, whatever. Whole different video. There's a lot of, whatever. The announcements guy goes up there, or girl, equal opportunity church, goes up there, right? he does his spiel, the thing that no one really cares about or listens to. And then he's like, will you guys please pray with me? Close your eyes. Let me pray. And he goes, God, I just want to thank you for being here. Honestly, it means so much to know that you are with us right now. I love you. We love you. Thank you for all you do. Amen. Is that weird? Because I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of people that would say, that was a weird prayer. They would say, that's odd. He didn't say sir or Lord. He didn't say Father. Yeah, buddy, you care too much. You care too much about the words that the guy up there is saying when he is just being honest to himself. One of my biggest things with this past I'm really bad at this because I don't remember which holiday it was. I think it was Christmas. This past Christmas, I was at home. My family, my whole family knows I want to go into ministry. That's the game plan. And so, of course, when it's time to say the prayer for Christmas meal, they go, great, and do you mind saying it? Of course I don't mind. I go, I don't mind. I just want you guys to know it's not going to be like Grandpa says it. My grandfather's name is Call. C-A-W, because my sister, when she was younger, could not pronounce Paul. So Call was the name. I'll be like, guys, Call says it way more elegantly than me, but that fits his personality, so I believe that. I go, guys, I'm going to be honest, my prayer's going to be a couple seconds. I'm going to be short, sweet, and concise. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be quick. I'm going to get in, get out. And because I'm praying for this bacon, this 15 strips of bacon to benefit my body. You know what I mean? And so they were like, yeah, no, it's fine. And I said, okay, everyone bow your heads, close your eyes. I go, Jesus, thank you so much for the food. Thank you so much for family. And thank you for the sacrifice you made for us. In your name, amen. I mean, my grandmother, you would have thought a bomb went off in that place. She said, is that it? What else is there? Oh, hey, that's funny. That's pause. What are we doing? That just hit me. What else is there? That's the name of the thing that we're doing right now. And so, what else did you want? My grandfather will hit this whole spiel about, I know so many people that just hit the spiel about stuff that's like, how did you even get here? We'll start on thank you for dinner and it'll turn into, God, I pray for every politician, Lord, that you soften their heart towards your will. Please, I want to have ham for dinner. Please just hang out. Just hurry. I'm not saying that you need to rush your prayer when you're with people. I think it bothers me that I feel like people aren't necessarily that genuine when it comes, like they feel pressure to say the right things and to feel the right way. And we care so much as humans, but specifically as Christians, we care so much about our perception that it blocks everything. And so when this quote comes up where it's like, when what you make doesn't have to be sold, encased, seen, it doesn't have to be any of that for it to be what it is. It can just be what it is because that is good enough. If your prayer is a word, a singular word where it's just, I have prayed before and just said, Jesus. Jesus. And I leave that and I go, I'm so glad that I had that conversation. I'm so glad that I had that moment with my Lord. I just don't, I think it's confusing. And I think it's hurtful because I think it's so scary for these new Christians to come in. And one of the biggest arguments I've ever heard is that like, people need to learn how to pray. That's not teaching people how to pray. That's teaching people how to act like they're praying. You going up there and hitting all the church jargon and you hitting the landing hard with all this stuff that you learned from your pastor when you were in preschool. If it's not you, you're not helping. If it isn't genuine, you're not helping anybody. You are inhibiting their growth. And so I just feel like we get so stuck in what we think it should be that we just forget what it really is. We look at something and we go, I made it for this. Well, you made it for other people to see it. You didn't pray that prayer for God or for yourself. Like you prayed that for Mary Jane for Mary Jane down in the third row. You know what I mean? Oh, my church crush is looking. Let me raise my hand. Been there, done that. I promise. But what I'm saying is, it's every time I do that, I definitely go like, put my hand back down and I just hit the, yeah, yeah, yes, yes, Lord. I just, why? Why do we do it to ourselves? Why are we, as a whole, our own worst enemies? Why do Christians make Christians look so bad? Atheists don't even have to try, because we do it. We make it exclusive on accident. On accidents. We accidentally push people into groups that they don't necessarily want to be in because that's the box of the group that we've made. We section off our ideals and we call them denomination. You know what I mean? Like denominations are fine. They're preferences. I definitely think it looks silly from the outside. The whole church can't even agree on something. Or can't even agree on all of it. Yeah, man, it's complex. And this right here, what I'm doing right now, is because of all that crap. It doesn't have to be seen for it to be what it is. It doesn't have to be seen, heard, encased, shown off, photographed, videoed. It doesn't have to be what it is. Or it doesn't have to be what you want it to be for it to be what it is. We just try and fit into other people's stencils. Like we just try and put our own stuff into other people's stencils and try and make it all fit and look pretty, and it doesn't work that way. Your stuff isn't someone else's stuff. Your emotions aren't other people's emotions. Your problems aren't other people's problems. God cares about you, and here we are dressing it up as if we have to prove ourselves to other people. As if I have to show that I pray better than him, or I tithe more than him, or I go to church more than him, or I serve more than him. It's so superficial. Why are we so caught up in all these constructs? It's so culturally bound. It is so stuck on the same thing as hustle culture. The church is so stuck in proving itself holy that we have just put ourselves in the same shoes as working at TJ Maxx. We're just a business all of a sudden. Adapting is not a problem. If you are a church and you are adapting, that's not a problem. Conforming is an issue. Conforming is an issue though. We do run into one issue when we start conforming. That is an issue. Adapting is not a problem. Meeting people where they're at is not an issue, as long as you're not conforming or contorting the Word of God. There's so much, and I feel like we are just so religious and we are so not relational, and it is so sad and empty. Empty is just the best word. It's gross and empty. It's okay to care how church goes on Sunday. It is okay to care about how many people came. It is okay to make sure that everything went as planned and smooth and make sure people get connected and get in groups. But if that is your end-all, be-all, sick, empty, gross. If that's what you're doing it for, whatever. Have fun. Have at it. If you don't care about the people in the building, it doesn't matter. It's dead. And it's just dead for you. That's what's so hard about it. You can do a work of the Lord while not being like spiritually in tune, if that makes sense. Like you can still work at a church on Sundays. You can still do volunteer work, do stuff at a church on Sundays and not be following the Lord. You can You can check all the perceptive boxes you want. But if you are dead, you are dead. Sorry. Oops. Not everything you do has to be seen, and it doesn't have to be heard, and it doesn't have to be watched. And it doesn't have to check someone else's boxes. It just needs to check God's boxes. Like it just needs to pass to him. It just needs to be his. It's just I woke up this morning and I texted Briggs, my buddy Briggs, twinning him, and and I said I'm feeling existential today, because on my fridge right now I have 4 wedding invites from people my age, and just to be vulnerable, I of course I'm at that point where my internal clock is going off. Like I know that culturally, at my age, especially within the church, people expect you to be engaged, at least dating, maybe even married, talking about kids at a certain age. I'm not quite at the kids' age. I probably got about 5 more years till I hit that space. But I'm 100% in the engaged window. And that wasn't the only thing. I got existential. That like started it. I was like, oh God. I was like, all my friends are getting. There was a Bo Burnham song in Inside, his special Inside, which is a beautiful work of art that talks a lot about the deteriorating state of mental health, specifically in younger, like millennial generations and down, but mostly everybody during the COVID lockdowns. It's on Netflix. I highly recommend it for not families, but for like adults. And there's a song where he said, all my stupid friends are getting married to my other stupid friends and having stupid children. And I just, and I hate it, but that was the first thing I thought of. I said, all my friends are getting married to my friends and are having children. And I was like, I'm running out of time. It honestly, the existential crisis wasn't even relational. It was just time based. My number one thing is that I don't want to misuse my time. And if you haven't caught on, you got to separate those 2 words for them to sound right. If you haven't caught on yet, one of my biggest things is I hate the way that I feel like we are all trapped. But the cage is open. We all just put ourselves in the box. We all just put ourselves in the cage, and we're just like, we're going to hang out here because this is safe. And so when I see all those wedding invites from my friends, today it finally just hit me. I said, I don't have unlimited time. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And so when I came home and I was looking through this and I see what you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in glass for it to be a work of art. What you do can just be what it is. It's already what it is because it is. When I saw that, it really made me remember I am where I am. I'm doing what I'm doing. And as long as you are working towards the will of the Lord by listening and being aware, and it is so active that you just get engulfed by it. You typically don't. I don't know if I can necessarily say that. People don't really notice when they just stumble upon their purpose. Most people kind of, at a certain point, kind of hit it and they go, oh, this makes sense how I got here. When you are working towards what the Lord has for you, it kind of clicks. Maybe not at the moment, maybe not right after it, but eventually it just kind of clicks and you kind of see the progression. And so what's weird is that I am where I am, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm trying to just listen to what the Lord has for me. And some days, honestly, I'm not good at it. So for weeks, I won't be good at it. For days, I won't be good at it. For hours, for months, I won't be good at it. But the goal is that I have my mind towards it, and I have my heart towards it, and I have my being towards it. And when you allow yourself to be where you are, because it is where you are, and it's where you've gotten to, and you understand that wherever you end up next is wherever you end up next, when it comes to time, when it comes to place, when it comes to people, when it comes to things, when it comes to tasks, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to anything, purpose, whatever it is, it makes you kind of be able to step back and go, oh, I am along for the ride. I am actively participating with the creator of the universe. If I will just allow him to drive, I can be there holding the map. I can do it. And so we just worry so much about how people perceive us. And that's one of my biggest things with the wedding thing. I want y'all to guess what one of the number one questions I get as a young single man working in a church. Take a guess. Are you seeing anybody? Boom. Off the bat. I don't avoid the question. I just say, no, ma'am. No, sir. Know anybody? You got any daughters? You know what I mean? And so, which honestly, it gets people to stop asking sometimes. But the point is, that's not the point. The point is, we allow other people to put what we believe to be our perceived self into our brains. I had this conversation with Zach before about how I said to him, I know your perceived self better than you know your perceived self. I said, but you know my perceived self better than I know my perceived self. But he knows his inner self better than I know his inner self. But I 100% know his perceived self better than he knows his perceived self. Because whatever we put out, it doesn't matter what our intentions are initially, because people take it for what it is. They take it for how they see it. And so when you start allowing others who aren't necessarily in tune with who you are, with the Lord, with who you are, with where you're at with the Lord, when you let people who don't really know you or where you're at emotionally, spiritually, whatever, when you let those people kind of speak stuff into your life, it's dangerous because they don't know where you're coming from. They only know what they see about you, what they receive from you. And so I think my biggest takeaway from this would be just let it be whatever it is. What you're doing, let it be what it is. Work towards following the Lord. You don't have to dress up the gospel. If you pray silently, you pray silently. If you pray out loud, you pray out loud. If you hum at church instead of sing, you hum at church instead of sing. If you don't sing, you don't sing. If the most important part is that we do not get caught up in all the crap that people feed us about the structure. There is so much respect to be found in building a beautiful relationship, a loving, beautiful relationship with the Lord that you can never find and will never find at a time-stamped church. Church is 100% important. Church is about community. Church is about the people. And obviously, you pick out what you can from the sermon and all that. It's about doing it together. Church is about doing it together. The brunt of it, the big hit, is understanding church is something to kind of keep me in community, but the focus of Christianity isn't the church. It is your relationship with the Lord and spreading what that looks like and the beauty of what that is. We just oftentimes I would say a majority of people miss that, and it's sad because I feel like it just gets lost in translation because sometimes the numbers seem to take control over decisions. I've been lucky enough to be under beautiful leadership who fully understand the emotional aspect and the relational aspect of the Lord. And I know a lot of people who haven't been as lucky. So I urge you to really take what you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in glass for it to be a work of art. What you do doesn't necessarily have to be witnessed. It doesn't have to be shown off. It doesn't, whatever it is, it can be. Whatever you are bringing to the Lord, it can be. Just allow him to take it and give you back whatever it should be. I love you guys. And I appreciate those of you who are willing to kind of sit with me and talk through this. Felt really good about this one. I feel very passionate about it. Just thank you guys. I got a lot of love in my heart for what this is. And I feel very lucky to be in this spot because this feels good. So thank you guys. On to the next one. Hopefully I won't ever delete another video again on accident.